The Ghost of Fossil Glen, Chapter 6. Now remember, you don't have to read this book with me. You can read your own book and do a report on it, which I'm going to include later on. But you can, if you want this to be your book, then it can be your book. In the morning, Allie walked downstairs to find Michael and her parents finishing breakfast. "There's some toast here, Allie Cat," said her father. "Thanks, Dad," said Allie, taking her seat. She reached for a piece of toast and asked, "Is it all right if I take a rake and a broom and some trash bags to school for Earth Day?" Michael banged his cereal spoon on the table enthusiastically. "Earth Day!" he crowed. "Fritzy and me are going to plant flowers today." "Fritzy and I are going to plant flowers," Mrs. Nichols corrected gently. Michael's round face gathered in a scowl. "No," he protested. "Not you." "Me," Fritzy said. "That's right, honey," Mrs. Nichols hastened to say. "You and Fritzy are planting flowers. I just meant—" "No, never mind." Michael smiled happily. Mr. Nichols turned back to Allie and said, "Sure, go ahead and take whatever tools you need. What are you going to use them for?" "We're cleaning up the cemetery at Fossil Glen today," answered Allie. Mr. Nichols nodded approvingly. "Good idea. If you're going to be carrying all that, why don't you let me give you a ride?" asked Mrs. Nichols. "Great, Mom," said Allie. "Thanks." "Go brush your teeth and I'll meet you in the car." As Allie and her mother drove past the Stiles' house, Mrs. Nichols said, "Why, that's Mr. Curtis's van in the driveway. There must be more furniture to move out." Ordinarily, Allie would have been interested in any sign of life at the Stiles' house, but she had spotted Karen Laver and Pam Wright walking to school. They were headed toward the place where her mother would pull up to drop her off. A little knot of anxiety began to form in the pit of Allie's stomach. "Mom," she said quickly, "this is good enough. Stop here." "But, honey, I have to pull into the parking lot to turn around anyway." Mrs. Nichols kept driving, right up to the front door of the school where she stopped. "Thanks a lot," Allie said glumly. "Have a good day, sweetie, and stop by the shop after school if you can. I'd like you to see that desk." "Okay," said Allie, but she didn't move. She calculated that if she stalled for just a minute, Karen and Pam would be inside the building before she got out of the car. Since both girls were in her class, she'd have to face them soon, but it would be better in the classroom with all the other kids and Mr. Henry around. "Oh, look," said Mrs. Nichols. "I see Karen and Pam." She raised her arm to wave. "No, Mom, don't." Allie sank down low in the seat. Mrs. Nichols turned to Allie, a puzzled look on her face. "What's the matter? They're your friends." "Yeah," said Allie unhappily. She watched as Karen and Pam disappeared into the building, laughing together. "Is something wrong?" Mrs. Nichols asked. "No." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, everything's fine." Mrs. Nichols looked at Allie questioningly, and Allie could see that her mother was waiting for a better answer than that. She tried to make her voice breezy and carefree. "Karen told me yesterday that she and Pam were talking about me. She said that, as my friend, she thought she should let me know." "Know what, sweetie?" "They think I'm a liar," Allie said quickly, the words coming out all at once in a rush. "Why would they think that?" said Mrs. Nichols indignantly. Allie shrugged. "No reason?" asked Mrs. Nichols. Allie sighed. Finally, in a low voice, she said, "They think I make stuff up, but I don't." Mrs. Nichols lifted her eyebrows. "Because sometimes you let your imagination run away with you?" she suggested gently. Miserably, Allie said, "Well, that's what you and Dad call it anyway." Her mother sighed. "Allie, honey, we've been through this before, haven't we? I know you don't mean any harm when you make up your stories. You get carried away. Like last night with that business about your journal." She stopped when she saw Allie's face. "You think I'm a liar too, then?" shouted Allie. Her mother reached over to touch her cheek. "No, sweetie, I just think that—" A loud bell rang, signaling that students were to be in their homerooms. "I gotta go," Allie said. "I hate to have you go into school so upset, Al. Are you gonna be all right?" Allie nodded. "We'll talk more tonight," Mrs. Nichols said, "okay?" "Sure, Mom. Bye." Allie took the tools from the back seat and walked up the path to school, aware that her mother was still sitting in the car, watching her.